Hello, my beautiful children. I've missed you. Thank you so much for joining me in this episode of Miss Vega Says What? I'm Miss Vega. Okay, so this episode is about loving yourself, which now that I said it out loud sounds super cheesy, but I don't care because look at my sweater, I'll be fine. I do cheesy things. And that's actually an example of loving yourself, but let's get into it, okay? So, in other videos I've mentioned, and I'll probably mention in all my videos, that adults say certain phrases with the best intentions, and then kids don't necessarily understand the depth of that phrase, or they misinterpret it into the lens that they view their world, which is different from the lens that their adults view the world, because maybe their adults didn't have cell phones growing up, whatever, it's a different time. So today I'm going to talk about the phrase loving yourself, because I think it's really important, and I've noticed that maybe children misinterpret it or they see it at a superficial level, okay? So loving yourself isn't actually, some might think that it's about like, oh my gosh, I look so cute in this selfie, or my outfit is so great, or whatever, right? Or like loving yourself is liking how you look, or liking how you appear in photographs, or how other people might see you, right? You guys might assume that that's loving yourself. And it can be, it's not an unhealthy thing all the time necessarily. That's not what this video is. So I want to talk about loving yourself because as I'm filming this, holiday break will be over soon. So winter break will be over soon and school will commence. And loving yourself is actually useful in the school setting. And the reason I say that is because what you're supposed to be, the practice of loving yourself comes in when you have experiences, which often kids have these experiences in response to schools or something that has happened in school. When you have an experience that you feel like where you have failed, or you're disappointed maybe with the way that something turned out, or you're disappointed with a grade you make, this is when loving yourself really comes in, because loving yourself is actually the physical sensation of being soothed, of soothing yourself, right? And that might sound simple, but it's really challenging for some people, and it's challenging into adulthood. And so, like I say in other videos, we want to begin to practice some of these hard skills earlier in life, so that way, you know, we're more versed once harder things come at us and we have to practice loving ourselves, right? Okay, so in terms of loving yourself, what you're gonna do is let's say you have maybe failed at something, or you are disappointed in a grade that you made. What you're going to do, excuse me again, is you're going to think of somebody loving, okay? Somebody loving. It could be a parent, a grandparent, your favorite uncle. I don't know who it might be. Maybe your best friend is a very gentle, loving person. It could be your favorite teacher. It could be me, right? So you're gonna put that person in the forefront of your mind. And again, you've gotten a failing grade, or something has disappointed you about yourself. It could be maybe related to athletics, like maybe you're an athlete and you didn't score, or whatever, you didn't perform the way you wanted to. You're going to put that loving person, right? You're going to consider that loving person, and how would they respond to you in this moment? They are a loving person, so they're not going to come at you with like, oh, you freaking loser, you suck, you failed, you're never going to be able to, you know, because you've selected a loving person. I'm a loving person. I would never talk to my children, my students in that way if they failed or somehow didn't perform as well as they could have. I would never speak to them that way, right? I'm a loving person. The thing about it is that we don't recognize that in our own minds, our own self-talk, when we fail or we're disappointed by something, we actually go the other way very quickly, or first, we go the other way. We're like, oh my God, I'm a dummy. I can't believe I failed. My mom's gonna kill me. I'm never gonna try this again, or I suck at this, or I'm a loser. And it goes on for a long time. Depending on the person, it can go on for a really long time, maybe even too long. So this is actually loving yourself, right? It's not about like, oh my gosh, let's take a selfie. I look so cute. Although there isn't anything wrong with that. Loving yourself is more about checking your self-thoughts when something hasn't gone your way, and you're going to respond to yourself within your own brain as a loving person would respond to you. So you probably do want to have an example of a real life person. It could be a parent, a grandparent, like I said, a teacher, and just think of them. They would not speak to you in some of the ways that you speak to yourself in your brain. And you might think like, it's my brain, it's fine, I could beat myself up. No, you don't want to do that, because we think that that's gonna like beat ourselves up into meeting our goals, like beat yourself up into attaining your desired goal or your desired grade, whatever term is in athletics. But in actuality, if your self-talk is more loving when you've disappointed yourself, you can then start to think of goals that are a little bit more gentle. And if the goals are a little bit more gentle, they're going to be easier for you to manage and obtain those goals. So, okay. And so sometimes, I'm looking at my notes, and so sometimes I also hear adults say, love yourself first. And I see that kids misinterpret this as loving yourself. They think like, oh, they mean like put myself first before my best friend, or think about myself first before the goal. And that's not what your parent or whoever it is that says love yourself first, right? Because this is another component. There's love yourself and there's also love yourself first. What love yourself first means that instead of beating yourself up first, or calling yourself a name, or comparing yourself to someone and kind of making your body feel bad. Because sometimes, I should say this, sometimes you may not be aware of it, or maybe you don't have necessarily a self-talk, and it's more of a feeling of disappointment, a feeling that you're a loser, a feeling that you can't do it. So it might not be like a very conscious thought, right? But it's something that doesn't feel good. So when people say love yourself first, that's what they mean. When you get back your failing grade or you're disappointed, whatever, firstly, you're not going to beat yourself up. You're going to encourage yourself. You're going to reflect on that loving person you selected and think, how would they react to this, right? Like if I was your teacher, if Miss Baker was your teacher, I just wouldn't be mean to you. So then that's what you need to do within your own brain. And for some of us, our self-talk might be so mean that this might feel cringy or awkward or something like that, but you'll just have to practice it, and that's gonna begin to soften it, right? And then you might even think like, oh my gosh, I can't do that. Like I made an F and I'm supposed to be like, it's okay, I'll do better next time. Why not? Nobody can see your thoughts. This is within your own brain, and nobody can see that, right? Nobody can see whether you're mean to yourself or whether you're kind to yourself. But it does influence how you go after that goal within the next time that you're presented that goal or challenge. It does affect how your body will go into that challenge, right? So nobody can see your thoughts, so just be gentle with yourself. Like, even if you're like a strong, tall dude and you have to think about your grandma to make this happen, who cares? Nobody can see your thoughts. So practice that, right? Like if you're like, So if you're like this big, strong guy and you have to like really get your grandma to be nice to yourself, you have to practice that. Nobody will know, and eventually that voice will come from within. You won't have to reach for that outside example. It'll just be your own self-talk has softened. So yes, this was the lesson on loving yourself. Loving yourself means being gentle in response to things that haven't gone your way, or being soothing, right? Soothing yourself when something you did has made you feel bad about yourself. You need to find a way to soothe. And so you think about that person, they wouldn't soothe you by beating you up into a sense of being soothed. That's not how that works. They would love you into loving yourself. So this is how you do this within your own brain to, you know, get better grades and achieve goals and things like this. And so thank you so much for joining me on this lesson about loving yourself. So basically it's, you know, when you make a mistake, the first thing you want to do is be gentle with yourself, right? And also, before I let you go, you can also think of it as you being a loving person to someone else, because we can actually be this way pretty often. What I mean by this is, like, if your best friend who you love tells you, oh, I made an F on my science test, right? If you're really a good friend, you're not gonna berate them and be like, oh my gosh, you're so dumb. You're gonna encourage them. You're going to say something nice and gentle, and maybe next time, and it's okay, right? So you can use that as an example too. If you can do it outward to another person, you're going to have to start practicing doing it within to yourself. Because honestly, I will say I do see, you know, a lot of my peers struggle with this concept. Myself, I struggle with this concept. And so, as I mentioned in all my videos, something that'll help the density of this work, because it can be hard work when you're older, is beginning to practice now when you're younger. So when your parent, or whoever rather, whenever you hear the phrase, love yourself, it's not about like hoping for a bunch of likes and loves on your selfies, or that you're able to not criticize yourself in a picture. Those are all good things, but it actually means soothe yourself when you're disappointed or you've made a mistake. So this time it really is it. And thank you again for watching my videos. I'm so thankful and appreciative, and please share, hit like, subscribe, and share with somebody that you think will benefit from the things that I talk about. Thank you guys so much. I am just beyond honored.